Aloha and welcome to the Boy Mom Podcast with my mom, Monica Swanson. On the Boy Mom Podcast, it is our goal to bring you practical advice and biblical wisdom for raising boys in this sometimes crazy world. You can always find show notes over at monicaswanson.com/podcasts. We're so glad you're here.
Hey friends, I am so excited today. I am about to burst. I have my son Jonah back with me for a very special episode. I've honestly been anticipating this episode for months now because you see, Jonah and I both have announcements to share with you today. I'll let Jonah share about his own announcement, but are you ready to hear mine? I am opening doors for signups for the beta group to begin my brand new character training course tomorrow. That is Wednesday, July 15th. Some of you have been waiting for this announcement for a long time, but for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, here's the scoop. I'm going to try to give it to you in the nutshell version. Okay, so since my book, Boy Mom, was released last August, I have heard from countless parents who asked if I would share more from chapter 6, which was all about raising a son of excellent character. In that chapter, I tell the story of how my husband and I really wanted to raise character-rich kids, but how when we actually had kids, we discovered it wasn't as easy as we had hoped. So I tell some of the things we've done as parents to be intentional about instilling character in our kids. One of the stories I tell is about something I did when one of my sons went through an especially frustrating stage, where certain character flaws were becoming a recurring issue and beginning to affect the whole family. Well, one day I had an inspiration to try something new. For lack of a better idea, I simply called it character training. And this thing I did, well, it was incredibly helpful. Over the months that followed, I saw great changes in that son and in our family dynamics overall. And years later, I can tell you that this son's character has only developed more and more. This was no short-term solution. It absolutely stuck. So, since sharing about that in Boy Mom, people have reached out. They want to know more about this character training thing I did. And I want to tell them. However, I am 100% convinced that this character training thing I did with my son was effective because we did it as part of a much bigger picture of a whole lot of things we were doing in our family. Giving people a resource list or steps to character training would not be doing anyone any favors. But I have such a heart for this topic. I really wanted to help and encourage people. So I decided that the best way to share this character training exercise with everyone would be to put together a course, one where I can share the foundations of character, the things we have done and continue to do in our family, the things I've learned through research and trial and error, the things I've learned from families whose kids have truly impressed me. The course goes on to share practical ways character is developed in the daily lives of tweens and teens. We talk about adversities and challenges and how we can help our kids develop character through these things. And then we go on to choices, decisions our kids make, how we can help them make better choices. And then we talk about consequences and discipline and how we as parents can use consequences to help motivate our kids to make better choices and develop more character. There's so much packed. This is just covering a few of the topics in the lessons, but I think they're all super practical and you're going to love them all. In addition to the lessons, there are incredible resources, downloadable lists, prayers, quotes. Seriously, the resources add so much value to this course. I think they're gold. And then, as a huge bonus, I have 5 podcast-style interviews with people who add a really special perspective to the topic of raising kids of character. I've got a retired investment professional who speaks to the topic from the angle of what kind of character employers are looking for in hiring employees. I've got an expert girl mom, author and speaker Carrie Kampakis, talking about character issues specific to girls in their tweens and teen years. I have Ruth Simons, best-selling author, artist, and homeschooling mom to 6 boys, talking about how they do family worship. And I have someone I really respect who has gathered the very best resources to teach families about conflict resolution and peacemaking in the home. Anybody need that? Finally, at the end of the course, I do share the very steps to character training that I did with my son all those years ago and a packed resource list for you to use with your kids. And to go with that, my son Jonah joins me for a final bonus interview where he shares his story of going through this character training 5.5 years ago and how it has led him to be the young man he is today, a young man who embraces godly character for himself. Guys, I'm so excited to share this course, but here's the thing. This is the first time I'm running the course. It's new. I want to make sure I covered everything you guys want, and I need feedback from real parents. So this summer, tomorrow to be exact, I am opening the doors to only 100 people. I've dropped the price by $100 because this is kind of like my test crew. That's why we call it a beta group. People in the beta group will take the course, give me feedback, and help me make any adjustments before I do a bigger launch this fall. And the good news is those in the beta group will have lifetime access to the course. So if I do make changes over time, they will still be able to get access to everything in the course. So if you want to be in this summer's beta group, be sure to leave your name and email now over at monicaswanson.com/character-course. I'll be emailing that list as soon as the doors open, and the first 100 will get access to begin the course next week. Now, please don't stress if you don't get one of those first 100 spots, because I will be launching it again in the fall, and by then it might be even better. So guys, can you tell I'm just a little excited? Thank you so much for allowing me to finally share this. I've been waiting so long to share this great news with you. So next, I am more than thrilled to dive into an interview with my son Jonah, who has an announcement of his own. This one may be of interest to your kids. And in fact, Jonah and my conversation today is inspired by his own little project that he'll be telling you more about. Yep, keep listening, you guys. This is so much fun. So thank you for allowing me to share this longer than usual introduction. I just want to thank you again for the ratings and reviews. They have so encouraged me, especially over these past few months where I've been a little extra busy. And without further ado, I'm going to let you listen in as Jonah and I talk about problems teenagers today face and the solution to each of those problems. I think you're going to love this conversation. All right, Jonah, welcome back on the Boy Mom podcast.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here.
It's always fun to have you on, and I hear from a lot of boy moms that enjoy it when you're on too. So,
well, I enjoy it the most, I think.
Well, this is a week full of big announcements, and I've already shared in the intro that I've got a big announcement about some doors opening for the character training course coming up. But Jonah has a little announcement, and it is not limited in number. In fact, you are all welcome to tune in to, drumroll, Jonah, what's coming up?
The Truth for Youth podcast. And this is coming on July 18th. So right around the corner. All you young people out there, people, who have been looking for a podcast that is done by youth for youth. This is something that I've been looking for a long time. And finally, I'm kind of starting something. It might not be the most exciting or huge ever, but man, I'm really excited to get in the community and invite you guys to join me. So,
it
Truth
is
for
very
Youth
exciting.
podcast.
It's exciting because not only does Jonah have so much to share, but he's got some great interviews. And tell us kind of the game plan, because Jonah's getting ready to go away to college if, God willing, everything goes as planned. He'll be going away to California in August. But tell us what your game plan is with the podcast.
Sure. So the podcast will be released one episode every 2 weeks, with the exception of the first 3 episodes being released on the 18th. So you'll have those 3 episodes. And then on August 1st, we'll do one episode every 2 weeks. And it's going to be about every other episode is going to be an interview, pretty much.
Awesome.
And I'll have interviews with all kinds of exciting people. You'll look forward to it, I'm sure. And
the premise, what are you going to cover? Tell us about the podcast.
So I'll just give the mission statement. It's the Truth for Youth podcast, where we apply the wisdom of the past and present to the issues young people face today in a manner that glorifies God. And so we're talking about all kinds of things. We're talking about scripture and how it applies to our lives. We're talking about great books and lessons from these books. We're doing interviews and discussions with people, and that's where we're going to get a lot of encouragement and wisdom. And then, otherwise just solo episodes with me, just encouraging all you young people out there. And I'm really excited. So
Jonah's been wanting to do this for a long time.
Definitely.
So proud of you, Jonah, and I cannot wait.
Thank you.
To be your first subscriber.
Yeah.
So Jonah is going to share with us today some notes that actually will point to one of his first episodes. So if you like what we talk about, there's going to be much more over in the Truth for Youth podcast. But we thought to just kind of point to this topic of character, stay on theme today. We're going to talk about what Jonah calls problems facing youth today. These are mostly character issues The list is longer than we are going to take time for. So we're just going to touch on a few things, hear from Jonah on it, and have a fun conversation about problems youth face from the perspective of by the time this comes out, guess what?
What?
Jonah, you'll be 19.
Oh, wow.
Jonah turns 19 on July 13th.
Yep.
So big day coming up. And so why don't you get and I'm going to just assume everybody has is familiar with Jonah.
Sure.
In the show notes, I'm going to link to the other episodes where you can find him because he's been on a number of times.
Yeah.
And of course, we will also link to his webpage and podcast and all the places you can find him. We're going to hop right in. Jonah, tell us about problems youth face today.
Sure. This list, it's not like I'm an expert. It's not like I've done these surveys myself and I've, found all the problems that youth face today. It's just me as a young person, just kind of looking as a young person, what do I struggle with? What are my kind of struggles that would apply to all kinds of young people?
And you have done a lot of research.
And I've done a little bit of research, but it's not exactly the point. The point is what really relates to you, because sometimes numbers and figures are kind of abstract, but what resonates with you? Is this something, is this something you struggle with? And I just collected a list of problems and issues that I've dealt with and I've seen other people dealing with.
Okay.
And should we start?
Yeah, give us number one.
Okay. Number one thing I've experienced and seen is we young people, we don't really love learning. And this is something I actually have an episode on the podcast dedicated to this, an interview. And this is an important topic because when you talk about learning, when you talk about character development, a lot of it is learning principles. And if you can't learn the principles, if you don't enjoy learning them, then you can't grow. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I think you've said part of your story was going from a place of not loving learning when you were young to recognizing just how valuable it is to be a learner. And
right. So, for example, I used to think of education as something that happened in the classroom with the teacher, and you have your homework and then you leave and then learning is done. But man, I mean, it didn't take very long. Like it must have been 15 or so around that time when I realized, wow, everything in life is about learning. When you're making dinner, the other night I was just making dinner and I'm learning all about like this new recipe, and it has nothing to do with class or school. Learning is a lifelong process. It's a joyful process, and that's one of the things that I've realized is the solution to this problem is to enjoy learning. Think of it as an adventure. You're stepping out into a new territory that you've never experienced before, and it's something fun, whether it is in school with biology or history or math, or if it's just something in life like learning how to change a tire or learning how to learning how to have a conversation with someone. There's so many ways you can learn, and I think having that foundation of enjoying learning is so very valuable.
Yeah, so. You have to read them the statistic you had read to me before we got on.
Yeah, well, there's a organization called Youth Truth Student Survey, and in 2017 they did a survey that showed that 52% of secondary students, so this is like 6th through 12th grade students, only 52% of them enjoy coming to school on a regular day. So half of the students are going to school out of obligation. They don't really want to be there,
right.
you know?
Even for social reasons. They don't want to be there.
Yeah, they just don't want to be there.
Wow.
And I mean, how often, dear listener, do you hear people say like, man, I hate school. I just don't like it. And I guess I am kind of the exception because I haven't actually been to public or private school. I've been homeschooled. Yeah. So maybe I'm not the right person to talk about this, but it is interesting that like half of people don't even really want to be there. It's going to influence things for sure. So.
That's right. Now that a lot of kids will be learning from home,
right?
Whether by choice or not, hopefully there could be a shift in attitude, and you could recognize just the joy of learning. And speaking of that time in the kitchen the other night, you were going to share that recipe.
Ooh.
We need to get that. We're going to try to get Jonah's recipe for fish cakes, which are like a crab cake, but made with fresh caught fish that were absolutely to die for. Like,
So
like
good.
gourmet restaurant
good.
style.
I think, well, by the time this is released, I'll hopefully have a blog post ready for that.
Okay, we'll link to it if it is. If not, just keep bugging us until he gives it to you. Because and hello, with that, homemade tartar sauce. Oh my goodness, it was so good.
It was great.
All right, so number one,
Yeah.
kids need to just start loving learning.
Loving learning, yeah.
That'll do a lot.
Proverbs 18:15 says, "An intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge." And this is just, I mean, having that love for knowledge and that love for learning, I think is so foundational. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Number two.
Number two, we're moving into the topic of pride among young people. And I think especially recently
Is this a millennial thing?
I think it is. Or maybe even, millennial and more recent. There's, what is it, Gen X, Gen Z?
I get so confused.
I get confused. They're using letters. But yeah, pride is so crazy. It's such an issue for me as well. Just thinking, I have the answer to these big problems, whether, it's political or whatever, just like having this arrogance and pride, it's huge. And I'll also have another statistic I found from a Harris poll in 2013, which showed students' respect for their teachers. And it dropped from 79% of students to 31% of students. So very few students are respecting their teachers. And this is another thing I hear from people is like, they're like, man, I have the worst teacher. Man, they're giving me the worst grades. It's like, but it's you that are taking the test, so you're getting the bad grade. And I've noticed, I saw a meme also recently where it pointed that out. Like, back in 2000, kids were like, the parents were like, oh, you got a bad grade, explain it. But nowadays, it's like we're talking to the teachers, like, explain why they got a bad grade, you know? We're flipping the equation.
Ooh,
so
blame.
Yeah, so I do think that we're judgmental, and as young people, we are not humble. We need to work on humility.
So the solution is, I think with each of these, there's a problem and a solution.
Yeah.
So problem is pride, arrogance among young people. Solution is choosing, because these are all choices. Choosing humility. And, I believe it's a Sermon on the Mount. Maybe it's a little later, but Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7, verse 4, he uses this analogy of a log in someone's eye. He says, how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye. So I think the solution is clear there. We need to look at our own problems. We need to realize that we have quite a few issues. You and I, we have a lot of issues ourselves that we have to confront before we move on to other people. So wow, that's huge. At all ages.
All ages, yeah. I think especially our ages, but as young people, but yeah. So
yeah, thank you. That's a good one.
Yeah, and again, we could go on and on about this, but you see this notion of cancel culture today.
Oh yeah.
Just like if we don't like someone for their ideas, we just shut them down. We remove them from social media. We block them. We don't want to hear them. One example, everyone knows who Winston Churchill is. This great historical figure, British Prime Minister during World War II. Recently, an image of his that was on Google, Wikipedia, I believe, it was removed. So a bunch of people got together and they voted. They appealed to Google to remove his image. And I believe there's a system in place where if you flagged something enough, the image gets removed.
Oh my goodness.
So what they did is, and this is a perfect example of people just canceling.
Yeah.
They canceled this great figure who literally helped end the regime of Hitler, right?
Yeah.
And this great figure, because in one of his letters, they went through all of his, I think, 37 books, and they found one point or a few points where he said a few racist, derogatory things. And because of those few words, he's canceled. Just
as if he never existed. I mean, even if he were a bad man, which he wasn't, but if he were, he still was a part of our history.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's this lack of respect. People are like, you know what? I'm gonna make a final judgment about someone because of one thing they said, and that's it. So this idea of pride is,
and I was gonna say, this does point totally to pride, because if you think of your own life, if everybody knew what's in your heart, the words you've spoken, I'm afraid we would all be canceled.
We would all, everyone's canceled. That would be an interesting headline to just see, suddenly everyone's canceled. What does that mean? Then, I don't understand it.
Hey friends, I hope you're enjoying this conversation. And I just want to take a quick break right here to talk about homeschooling. Now, most of you know I've homeschooled my boys since pretty much the very beginning. And though I've never said homeschooling is for everyone, I do believe that my boys' experience being homeschooled has been a big part of shaping their character into the young men they are today. And if any of you are considering homeschooling in the year ahead, I read that 40% of American families say they're more likely to homeschool this school year than before. I highly recommend you check out my friends at Classical Conversations. Classical Conversations is a home-centered educational community that equips parents to provide their children with timeless tools of learning. Their curriculum offers a Christ-centered worldview while honing students' academic and classical skills of recitation, logical thinking, and rhetoric to turn students into lifelong learners. For more information, visit classicalconversations.com. And now I'll get back to my conversation with Jonah. Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, let's move on. So the third issue, we worry about our reputation. And this, I think my mom has talked about this a bit before.
Yeah, identity,
image. So reputation, everyone understands this. On Instagram, we're always posting stuff to boost our reputation.
Sure.
So I do think that this is a bit of an issue.
It is. And I think that there's especially big problem in the formative years, because you're trying to figure out who you are. And sometimes it feels like if you put up a front, if you put up an image for other people to see, it almost will make you that person. But it's complicated.
Definitely. And I think one of the issues here is we're comparing ourselves to others. And, I think there was a video we watched recently on this. I forget who it was from. But comparing yourselves to others is a really bad, formula. Yeah. Because think about it, there's always going to be someone better in this area, in some area, in school, in sports, in finances, whatever. So if you do that, it's a bad system because you're always going to be behind.
Or always, you have a false sense either direction.
You either ahead or behind. Yeah, exactly.
Just had a conversation with your littlest brother about this, where it's like you can use comparison to make yourself feel good, which is false, or to feel bad, which is false.
So the best thing to do is what? What's the best thing to do, you think? It is to compare yourself to yourself, right?
There you go.
So figure out who you were yesterday and compare yourself to that. Are you improving on yourself?
Yeah.
And that's the best reference. And also to look to God and to his example and try to imitate him. But
have a right perspective of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of trying to be like someone else, of course you can imitate the good qualities in people.
Sure.
But don't put them on a ranking and try to surpass them.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think this is an issue for young people.
Huge issue. Yeah. And I think it takes great courage and a step of maturity to decide, I'm going to quit. If this is a habit, if you turn to that social media and you're constantly looking and comparing yourself, it can become such a habit that I think it'll take great courage, but to pull away from that and to say, nope, I'm not going to. And again, adults, this is for the kids, but hey, I think he's preaching to all of us here, because I know that I can get sucked into the comparison trap easily. So we all need to pull away and get a right perspective.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
All right. So the next one is that we as young people, we can become impulsive. So you know what I mean by this? Sure. Instead of thinking before acting, you just act and then you think.
Totally.
So whether it's when you're eating something that you shouldn't be eating, or, saying something that you shouldn't say, or doing something you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
We act first and then we think, oh, that was a bad idea, later.
For sure.
I think that this is an issue today, especially.
It is, and I think it's an issue. I mean, impulsiveness is normal in a toddler. But a sign of growing up is learning self-restraint.
Yes.
I interviewed Drew Dick, who wrote the book Your Future Self Will Thank You, and that's all about that idea of restraint and delayed gratification, which your dad, Jonah, my husband, loves to talk about delayed gratification, and it's huge. Sure. I mean, so much of life, I've thought about this. I'm like, oh my goodness, every area of life is just so dependent on, if you want to be successful, it's dependent on delayed gratification.
100%.
So yeah, impulsiveness, if you're have a teenager, young, tween or a teenager, I say focus a lot on helping them recognize their impulsive nature and then maturing out of it.
Definitely. I would totally agree. Yeah, we really could work on this, young people. Let's step up our game. And I think part of it is we're living in an age where we have quick access to a lot of things.
Totally.
Whether it's on the internet or at the store or something, or like Amazon, right? You just one click buy. Have you heard
Dangerous.
of that?
Oh, I do it.
I mean,
I use it.
It's one click buy. What does it do? It's encouraging you
and to not think.
Look, they have their business strategy. That's fair enough. They can use it. They have the freedom to use it. But as us on the other side of the business strategy, we should try to avoid it, because so many times it's like, just click it. It's just a simple button. And it's like, oh yeah, sure. And you click, and then you realize, wait, I never even put 10 seconds into thinking about this,
I think there's a rule when you want something, you're supposed to see it, like, especially if it's just not a necessity. Like, I'm not talking about ordering, dishwasher soap, or I don't know what people order on Amazon. But for me, it's usually clothes.
Sure.
So I should look at it, want it, and wait a week and decide, do I still really want it after a week?
Yes, there you go. Delay. Yeah, delaying the gratification. So
I'm going to work on that.
That's good. Well,
let's
move on. Yeah, let's do one more. And this is going into the theme of friendships.
We like that.
Yeah, friendships. And I think, and this is another thing I talk about in my podcast, the Truth for Youth podcast.
That one that's about to launch in a few days.
Yeah, a few days. So, man, that one. Man, friendships are so crucial. And I think today
I'll just say,
go ahead.
It's also a big theme in the character training course.
Yes.
And for those that have daughters out there, I have a special girl mom expert who chimes in on this topic of friendships, because I think though it's huge for boys and girls, I think friendship is unique for girls in the tween and teenage years.
Yeah.
So, but talk to us about friendship.
Sure. Well, I think that friendship is so important, because friendship can be great. It can be so huge. Friends can sharpen one another. They can build each other up.
Yep.
They can discourage what is bad and encourage what is good in one another. And I think that as I've grown older, I've found more friendships where that is the goal.
Yeah.
To sharpen each other.
So good.
But there are friendships which can be gratifying and they can be pleasurable, but there really isn't much growing. There isn't much, challenging one another. When someone makes a mistake, it's like, oh, that was fun, but there isn't really a recognition of the problem, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say that for young people, this is just a general one. Choose your friends wisely, because you're going to become, like you've said many times, you become like the company you keep. And this has to do with, who you look up to, but it also has to do with just your peers, the people who you spend time with. Yep. So big one.
Big.
Yeah.
So big. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Exactly.
It's enormous. And I'm just going to say right now, going on our experience with our first two sons, and I talk about this in my book, Boy Mom.
Yeah.
And this comes up in the course as well. But there's a certain season, I'm going to say from around 12-ish through the later teen years, where sometimes it is going to be really, really hard to find a single good friend that you really can trust, that is looking out for your best, because a whole lot of kids, I'd say maybe the majority of kids, go through a weird time. And if, so you want to be careful, but if anyone needs the encouragement, a couple lonely years aren't going to kill your kid. My boys have each gone through years where when they decided to protect themselves from bad influences. Now, this doesn't mean they didn't have friends. They could hang out with casually. But as far as those close, intimate friendships where you really trust somebody, you share your heart, you spend time alone, there's a couple years where both of my first two sons just had very few close friends. And that was intentional because some of their close friends in their early years were starting to make some bad choices. And again, I talk about this in the character training course, but the point is, look at you now. They come out of it. They come out the other side. They find good friends. They have healthy friendships, and they are so glad that they didn't make bad decisions because they were influenced by people who are making bad choices.
100%. Yeah. I think going without close friends for a little while it's fine. I mean, you're always gonna have some community. You're gonna have society and social gatherings, but having those close friends, it's gonna take a while. I think, especially as for us, we live out in the country on the North Shore. We don't have the biggest community to choose from.
Right. Some of you are probably blessed with like a good couple handfuls of amazing young people.
And if that's the case, then, that's great. That's good for you. Enjoy it. Yeah.
Thank God.
But if you happen to be like us where there aren't many options, that's okay. That's fine. Sometimes you have to go through the valley before you climb up the mountain.
And then you can hang out with your mom because she's probably super cool. You got a cool mom.
Be a mama's boy or mama's girl.
No, it's not a mama's boy. It's just being... I'm sure you all have cool moms.
Yeah.
And dads.
I'm just blessed to have a really cool mom.
Thank you, Jonah. Yeah. We have fun as a family. And, it's a good time to invest in other things, to learn things. Like Jonah said, read some good books. Books can be like a best friend.
Yeah. The authors of books,
Yeah.
For sure.
And there's plenty of good things to do in the meantime. I love that.
And then once you wait long enough, someone's going to come around who has similar interests, similar passions, desires. And you guys are just going to become best friends or girls or whoever,
That's right. Yeah. Friendship's a big deal. Influences are a big deal. And again, I can't help but just point out, which I guess you touched on, but influences also come in the form of what are you watching? What are you listening to?
Yes.
What are you doing online? All those influences are going to shape and mold you into who you are going to be one day.
Exactly.
So
and you talk about that in the course and in your
all
book.
The time, everywhere,
which is good. It can't be said too much.
That's right.
Can't be said too much. Sometimes the obvious things, the common sense is the most uncommon sense,
right.
So
well said. Yes. Is that the last one for now?
Yeah, I think you said,
there are more of these in Jonah's upcoming podcast episode where he goes into these a bit more, gives a few more points.
Episode 2, so it's the second part of the introduction. So
in his new podcast.
In the new podcast.
Which is coming out in a few days.
On July 18th. Yeah, keep your eyes open.
Jonah, you can pay me later, buddy.
And the Instagram for you who are interested is @_truth4youth. I've got a little following. I put some quotes and scripture out there every day. I put some videos of myself encouraging you guys. And
and if any of you are like lovers of truth, if you've got something to say, if you think you have an interesting experience or perspective, reach out to Jonah because maybe you'd be a good person to interview on his podcast.
Definitely. Or we could also do other things like a live stream, like where we're together on Instagram. There's so many ways we can connect. Reach out to me, message me, just talk. I love connecting with you guys, so I'm really cool. Excited. So
yay. Well, Jonah, thank you for this. What a fun conversation.
Super fun.
I enjoyed that a lot, and I hope everyone else did too.
Isn't it so fun talking about problems? Just talking about the issues in the world,
but we had solutions too.
Yes, exactly. So
all right, well, thank you, Jonah. And I guess this is a good time to say, for those that do get to take the course, we've got a special bonus in the course with Mr. Jonah Kai Swanson talking about his experience growing in character from his early years where maybe he wasn't so enthusiastic about learning or character or anything else. And what that journey looked like to get to the outstanding young man he is today. So if you get into that beta group this summer, you will hear from Jonah. If you don't, no worries. We'll keep that in there for the fall launch of the character training course. So either way,
go check out that character training course. I seriously recommend it. You're going to get so much from it. And my mom has so much wisdom and insight. And I seriously, right now, I encourage you all to go check out that course. So
thank you,
do
Jonah.
it.
And again, it's only going to get better for the fall. So if you don't get in that first group, no worries.
Yes, exactly.
Got plenty more ahead. Okay, well, thanks, Jonah.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I had so much fun chatting with Jonah, and I hope you can pass this along to your kids as well so that they can listen in and hopefully tune into his new podcast. He is so excited, and I am so proud of him. Now, as usual, anything we talked about will be linked to in the show notes, which are always found at monicaswanson.com/podcast. Look for episode number 63. I also want to remind you that we have another summer bundle giveaway from Surface Sunscreen. At the end of each month of this summer, they are giving away a bundle to one of you. So to enter to win that bundle, go over to show notes. I've got a question prompt over there. Just leave a quick reply and you will be entered to win the July bundle giveaway. Also, everything at surfacesunscreen.com is 20% off if you use code BOYMOM. Now, I'm trying to include something a little different at the end of each episode. And right now, I want to tell you that Surface created its very own unique fragrance called Tropics, which is made from coconut, mango, and guava. So for all of you who have told me that you had a trip to Hawaii planned for this spring or summer and it got canceled, well, this is kind of like taking a little mental vacation. If you're using Surface Sunscreen Tropics Blend, you're going to feel like you're in Hawaii. Okay, maybe it's not exactly the same, but it can definitely help. So get your hands on that. There's also more information about Surface over in the show notes so you can read all about it. Hope you love it. Use that code for 20% off and enter to win the giveaway. All right, friends, it would mean so much to me if you shared this episode with some of your friends so that they can hear about the character training course and so their kids can find out about Jonah's podcast as well. Also, if you haven't left a rating or a review yet, this would be a great time to do it. For all of you who have told me you can't figure out how to leave ratings or reviews, here's what you do. You grab a young person. Even if they don't listen to podcasts, they'll probably figure it out faster than you could. At least that's the case in my home. So please do leave those ratings and reviews. It means so much to me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I hope to see you in the character training course. And until next time.